What would you do if one of your parents was a god?
Like Jesus?
Percy Jackson and the Olympians shows what would happen if Greek myths were both real and living in the US. Spoiler alert, it's not always pretty. Before diving headfirst into the sea of monsters, you might want to get caught up on Percy, Grover, and Annabeth's first cross-country quest.
We all know that last year you did something cool. But honestly, I don't even remember what it was.
If you're a kid in the mid to late 2000s, there's a pretty good chance you had a copy of The Lightning Thief in your backpack at some point. Rick Riordan's best-selling series Percy Jackson and the Olympians took libraries by storm and got young people everywhere excited about Greek mythology. At least until the Hunger Games stole its thunder.
I volunteer as tribute!
Yeah, that's not entirely fair. Even though The Lightning Thief is now 20 years old, Riordan's Camp Half-Blood franchise managed the rare feat of maintaining a dedicated readership even as its initial fanbase aged into adulthood. There was just one problem. The movie version sucked.
Whatever, I think it's the best movie of the year.
What?
Maybe that's a bit too harsh, but it sure wasn't great. Out of the 5 books in the original series, only 2 made it onto the big screen. When the film adaptation of The Titan's Curse was cancelled, it seemed like we'd never get the chance to see Percy Jackson in the flesh again. Never say never, all it took was another decade. While the movies from 2010 and 2013 got mixed reviews, critical reception of the 2023 Disney Plus show, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, has been much more positive. Apologies to Logan Lerman, but the Walker-Scobell-led series does a much better job depicting the events of The Lightning Thief, with a few changes, but we'll get to that later. With Season 2, Percy Jackson finally catches up to where the movies unceremoniously left off. With the program already renewed for Season 3, Percy and his friends are guaranteed to end up in some exciting new places. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. You're here because you need a refresher for Season 1. So, without further ado,
let the games begin!
How many days were it?
Percy Jackson is a pretty troubled kid, and he'd tell you that himself. The 13-year-old suffers from both ADHD and dyslexia, only has a single friend, and lives in a tiny New York apartment with his mom Sally and his odious stepdad Gabe. It doesn't help that he's suffering from vivid nightmares featuring a mysterious, threatening man. A student at Yancey Academy, Percy's life gets turned upside down after his favorite teacher, Mr. Brunner, gives him an unexpected gift during a field trip to the Met.
You'll be needing this. Hang on to that. It is a mighty instrument.
They say that the pen is mightier than the sword, but what if the pen is the sword? After somehow pushing his annoying classmate into a fountain without touching her, another teacher, Mrs. Dodds, reveals herself to be the Fury Alecto and attacks him. It's not much of a fight as she immediately takes a glowing blade to the chest and disintegrates Infinity War style. Percy gets expelled from Yancey, not for disintegrating a teacher, but for the thing with a fountain after his buddy Grover sells him out. When Percy gets home, Sally isn't mad. Instead, it's clear that she's been waiting for this moment for a while. She takes Percy to her cabin in Montauk and tells him the truth. His father was a god, and that makes him a demigod, or half-blood as they're often called. It's a lot to take in, and when Grover shows up, he's even more confused.
Grover!
What?
Grover, why is there half a goat in your pants?
Oh, it's...
Grover is a satyr, and he was assigned to protect Percy from harm at Yancey. He only got him kicked out of school to get him away from a monster that's currently barreling towards their car. It's the Minotaur, and there's no maze in sight to keep him contained. The only thing that can stop him is a magical barrier that protects the demigod refuge known as Camp Half-Blood. Unable to step inside, Sally is forced to confront the Minotaur, turning to dust in the process. Her son is reckless enough to try and avenge her, and strong enough to succeed. After Percy kills the Minotaur with its own horn, he passes out. When he comes to, he's greeted by fellow Half-Bloods, and Mr. Brunner, who's actually the centaur known as Chiron. Each cabin in Camp Half-Blood is occupied by the children of a particular god, but since none of them have claimed Percy as their son yet, he's sent to bunk with the Hermes kids. One of the messenger god's sons, Luke, is nice enough to show him the ropes. Percy gets the chance to meet some of Camp Half-Blood's most notable figures. First up is Mr. D, camp director and god of wine.
You really don't want to start with this guy.
He's starting with me.
Percy, the D is for Dionysus.
He's closely observed by Annabeth, daughter of Athena, and given a hard time by Clarice, daughter of Ares. Clarice and two of the war god's other children try to give Percy a swirly, but things don't go according to plan. At lunchtime, Luke tells Percy about how he and Annabeth ended up at Camp Half-Blood. They were traveling with another demigod, Thalia, daughter of Zeus. And since the big three gods made a pact not to go hooking up with humans anymore, there were monsters on their tail. As Percy later learns, Zeus turned his forbidden child into a tree when one of the Furies was about to kill her. Along with everyone else at camp, Percy is given the chance to fight for glory during a game of Capture the Flag. But once again, Clarice and company are there for some more obligatory hazing.
Yeah, glory's fine. Revenge is more fun.
Just when she's about to give him a beatdown for breaking her spear with his body, Blue Team wins. After telling Percy that she was watching the whole time with her hat of invisibility, Annabeth pushes him into the lake. But wait, why is the water healing his cuts? And what's the deal with that strange floating trident?
Your dad's calling.
Percy is claimed by Poseidon, god of the sea, and unfortunately, that makes him a forbidden child. No wonder those monsters won't leave him alone. Being a forbidden child comes with some serious baggage. Chiron and Mr. D tell Percy that trouble is brewing because someone stole Zeus's signature lightning bolt, and as the Thunder God's newly discovered nephew, he's a prime suspect. If the bolt isn't returned by the summer solstice in a week's time, Zeus will declare war. Chiron suspects that it resides with the third member of the Big Three, Hades, god of the underworld, which happens to be located under Los Angeles. Percy isn't willing to accept the quest until Grover tells him that his mother is in the underworld as well. Not dead though, there's a difference. When the Oracle of Delphi seems to confirm this, it also tells Percy that one of his friends is going to betray him. Nevertheless, he chooses Grover to join him, and Annabeth, who's been itching for a quest.
If the mission required someone to push me down a flight of stairs for it to succeed, you'd want someone who won't hesitate when they do it.
After Luke gives Percy a pair of winged sneakers to aid in his odyssey, the trio of heroes begin their trek. They make it as far as New Jersey when they run into Alecto, who isn't actually dead, and one of her sisters. They escape to Auntie M's Garden Gnome Emporium, but it doesn't take long for them to realize who Auntie M really is.
It's a pleasure to meet you, son of Poseidon. I'm Medusa.
Medusa seems nice enough at first, but you can never trust a Gorgon. She tries to turn Percy against his companions, and when that doesn't work, she tries to petrify the trio with her stony gaze. Percy manages to decapitate the monster after Annabeth puts her magical Yankees cap of invisibility on her, because what you can't see can't turn you into a statue. After using Medusa's head to stop Alecto, he decides to ship the head to Mount Olympus via Hermes Express to send a message.
Okay, look, this is a bad idea. They will see this as impertinent.
I am impertinent.
Since the heroes can't travel by air lest Zeus slap them out of the sky, they take the train instead. Everything goes according to plan, until a cop informs them that their cabin's been torn apart. A witness claims that she saw the three do it, and when she sits them down for a chat, they notice what the police can't.
This isn't your fault. But sadly, you're going to have to bear the burden of your parents' mistakes today.
Meet Echidna, mother of monsters, who's brought one of her progeny to play. That would be the Chimera, which stings Percy and forces the group to get off the train in St. Louis. Luckily, Annabeth knows the location of an Athenian temple nearby. Just one catch, it's in the most conspicuous place imaginable. The heroes head to the top of the St. Louis Arch, but instead of the goddess of wisdom, they're greeted by a bunch of tourists. That's not much help when the Chimera's poison has already started taking effect. Annabeth, who's pretty sure that she embarrassed the hell out of her mom by not preventing Percy from shipping Medusa's head to Mount Olympus, offers to fend off Echidna and the Chimera to give Percy and Grover a chance to escape. In an attempt at a noble sacrifice, Percy swaps places with her at the last second.
I would have never made it to Hades.
Percy? Percy, please!
But you can.
Percy makes a valiant stand, but he's no match for the Chimera's fire breath. He falls from the highest point of the 630-foot arch, only to be caught by a waterspout and deposited in the Mississippi River. The Nereid Eudora tells Percy that his father is looking out for him even if he can't see it, and that he and his friends have to head to Santa Monica. Oh yeah, and he can breathe underwater. With the river water having cleansed his body of poison, Percy meets back up with Grover and Annabeth. Unfortunately, the wrath of gods isn't their only issue. they have to worry about law enforcement. Unable to use any kind of public transportation for fear of getting spotted, the heroes head out on foot until a passing biker asks if they need some help.
As much as I'd love to see a good war pop off, as your big cousin, I feel like maybe I want to give you a hand.
Ares, the god of war and father of Clarice, invites the teenagers to meet him at a diner for some burgers. He tells them that a war between Zeus and Poseidon is inevitable, but makes a deal with them anyway. If they can retrieve Ares' shield from a local amusement park, he'll get them to Hades' palace away from the FBI's prying eyes. With Ares keeping Grover as collateral, Percy and Annabeth head to Waterland, but they soon realize that it's no ordinary park. It was built by Hephaestus, god of smithing, who has a bone to pick with Ares for messing around with his wife Aphrodite. Hephaestus has rigged the place with jigsaw-style contraptions, and the shield resides within a secret chamber in the Tunnel of Love. After Percy uses water-bending powers to save Annabeth from drowning, the pair find that the shield can only be released if one of them sits in a chair that turns the sitter into gold. Once again, Percy makes a noble sacrifice, or at least attempts to. When Hephaestus himself arrives to show Annabeth the way out, he's so moved by Annabeth's passion that he allows Percy to go free.
You're a good kid, Annabeth. I'll put in a good word with your mom for you.
For the next leg of the journey, Ares gives the heroes a backpack full of supplies. He advises them to hitch a ride in the back of a truck headed for the Lotus Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, a frequent hangout of Hermes. Grover tells his friends that he's deduced the identity of the lightning thief. Ares was clearly holding something back during their conversation, and the only person he'd be willing to protect is his favorite daughter, Clarice. They get in touch with Luke at Camp Half-Blood, who agrees to ask Chiron to arrest her. When the three arrive at the Lotus, Grover immediately recognizes it as a modern version of the Lotus Eaters Island from the Odyssey. They start their search for Hermes, thinking that eating the food there will cause memory loss, not realizing that management is pumping it into the air. As Grover gets distracted seeing a satyr from his past named Augustus, Percy and Annabeth find Hermes playing craps. All he does is waste their time, and a whole lot of it, since time runs much slower inside the Lotus. While it feels like they've only been in there for minutes, it's actually been days. Even though Alexander Hamilton seemingly refuses to help, Annabeth uses her invisibility cap to steal the keys to his magical teleporting taxi.
You picked Hermes' pocket?
I'm multi-talented.
But it's hard to steal from the god of thieves. Sure enough, Hermes knowingly allowed his pocket to be picked. After Percy and Annabeth find Grover, who's already suffering from serious memory loss, they make a beeline for the taxi and find that the messenger god left them instructions on how to get to Hades. They travel from Vegas to Santa Monica in an instant, but it's already too late. Eudora returns, telling Percy that the solstice has passed, and Poseidon is preparing his army for war. She releases Percy from his quest, but he refuses to give up. Impressed by his willfulness, Eudora gives him some special pearls to aid in the eventual escape from the underworld.
There are 4 of them.
Save the world. And then go save your mother.
Following Hermes' instructions, the heroes find that the secret entrance to the underworld is hidden in a waterbed emporium and guarded by Percy's half-brother, Procrustes, Krusty for short. They push Krusty into one of his own magical binding blankets, find the passage, and walk down into the unknown. After shoving their way past the souls waiting to cross the river Styx, they meet the ferryman Charon and his guard dog Cerberus. Thankfully, the 3-headed Rottweiler is a giant softie who loves squeaky toys and a good scratch behind the ear, but they lose one of the pearls in the process of getting by him. As the group travels through the Asphodel Meadows, where regretful souls take root, Annabeth finds herself stuck to the ground and forced to use her pearl to escape. After that, Grover almost gets pulled into the pit of Tartarus by his hooves, but all it manages to take are Luke's winged shoes. As the boys regain their bearings, they hear a strange clanking noise from the backpack Ares gave to them. What they find is truly shocking, pun intended.
Yeah, that's the master vault. How's it in your bag?
Armed with Zeus's weapon and the knowledge that Ares was attempting to frame him, Percy arrives at Hades' palace. The god of the underworld reveals that he saved Sally in order to get Percy to talk to him. But when Percy starts going on about Ares and the bolt, he's completely baffled.
Then what do you want?
My helm!
Your what?
Hades thinks Percy stole his Helm of Darkness, which someone took around the same time the bolt went missing, and wants him to return it. That's when Percy realizes that there's only one person who could have orchestrated all of this. Well, less of a person and more of a titan.
Somebody who's Phonos.
Excuse me?
Kronos, the father of the Big Three, recruited Ares to take down the other gods. He's also the mystery man who's been speaking to Percy in his dreams this whole time. There's just one thing. Zeus chopped up Kronos into tiny pieces millennia ago and threw the pieces into the Tartarus pit. Nevertheless, Hades offers Percy, Grover, and Sally sanctuary in the underworld in exchange for Zeus's bolt. Instead, Percy decides to take him up on his original offer, the Helm of Darkness in exchange for his mom. The heroes use their pearls to teleport them back to Montauk, where Ares is waiting for them. Anyone who challenges a god to a one-on-one is either incredibly brave or irresponsibly reckless. But whichever one Percy is, he still manages to hold his own against Ares in a duel. Harnessing the power gifted to him by his father, Percy summons a great wave to incapacitate him.
Want to know what you really won today? An enemy for life. Congrats.
In true boss battle fashion, Ares disappears with a flash of light and leaves a loot drop behind. Percy takes the Helm of Darkness and brings it to his mom's cabin, where Alecto, who somehow still isn't dead, agrees to bring it back to Hades. That leaves the Master Bolt, which Percy brings to the Mount Olympus elevator in the Empire State Building. He finds himself in the realm of the gods for the first time, where Zeus is waiting for him. Percy tells him about Kronos' impending return, and while the god of thunder says thanks for the bolt and the heads up, he refuses to back away from war with Poseidon. After enraging Zeus, Percy is attacked by a god for the second time that day, but Poseidon refuses to allow any harm to come to his son.
I surrender. What?
With the war over before it ever really began, Zeus and Poseidon agree to work together to stop their dad. All that's left is for Percy to have a long-awaited heart-to-heart with his own father. After a brief yet emotional conversation, Poseidon uses a pearl to send Percy back to Camp Half-Blood. He's greeted with a hero's welcome, but there's just one problem. Clarice hasn't been held accountable for her role in Kronos' scheme. Luke explains that doing so would have thrown the camp into total chaos, and brings Percy into the woods with him to watch the celebratory fireworks. As Percy ponders the Oracle's prediction that one of his friends would betray him, he realizes that the reason Clarice isn't being punished is because Luke didn't mention her to Chiron at all.
Because you knew that Clarice didn't steal the bolt. You did.
Luke confirms Percy's suspicions, but he insists that it wasn't an act of betrayal, it wasn't attempted recruitment.
Stealing the bolt and the helm was easy. For what comes next, we're gonna need all the help we can get.
As they cross swords in the woods, Luke opens up a portal, and when Annabeth reveals that she's been listening the whole time, he runs into it and vanishes. The fighting is over, at least for now. It's time for Percy to go home, but he makes a pact with Annabeth and Grover, the latter of whom just got his license to search for the lost nature god Pan, to return the following year. Percy's thrilled to learn that Hades has fulfilled his end of the bargain and returned Sally to the overworld. But he can't let his guard down too much, because Kronos' attempt to restore the Golden Age is far from over.
Soon enough we'll meet in your world. If you can survive what's next.
If you've read The Lightning Thief before, you might have noticed that the Disney Plus show isn't a totally accurate adaptation, but since it's probably been a few years, we'll tell you how. The big difference between the book and Season 1 is that the characters in the show are usually one step ahead of their literary counterparts. They're much more informed about Greek mythology, but that doesn't necessarily make things easier for them. Take the encounter with Medusa, for instance. In the book, she introduces herself to the heroes as Auntie M and tries to trick them into looking at her eyes. It's only when she mentions her two sisters, the Gorgons Steno and Euryla, that Annabeth figures out their true identity. In the show, her Athenian wisdom helps her figure that out almost immediately.
Auntie M has a garden full of petrified stone folks. Yeah, this is someone from our world, all right.
Then there's the St. Louis debacle. Other than the fact that the heroes in the book only encounter Echidna and the Chimera after they've already gotten off the train, the show's sequence in the Arch is pretty dang accurate. That's probably because in the Lightning Thief movie from 2010, St. Louis is replaced with Nashville, and the Chimera is replaced with a Hydra. The show's Ares segment, which is completely skipped in the film, removes Grover from the shield heist and replaces the Golden Throne with a bunch of spidery robots. Well, show Percy learns that his mom is actually alive early on from Grover. Book Percy has to wait until Ares sends him off to learn that vital information. In the book, Ares doesn't say anything about the Lotus Hotel either. They stumble upon it purely by chance. Hermes isn't even a character in this series until the sequel, but the show seemingly couldn't wait more than 3 episodes to bring in Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I exist beyond space and time, kid. Why do you think they put me in charge of delivering the mail?
Just like they did with Medusa, the show protagonists figure out the casino's connection to the Lotus Eaters within seconds of entering. The character of Augustus is also unique to the streaming series, and when they leave the hotel in the book, they still have a day to complete their quest. The book also places a gateway to hell in a recording studio, while the show skips a step by putting it in Krusty's office. There are even more differences than that. There's an encounter with a hellhound in the book that the show cuts out, a scorpion that Luke summons during the final fight, and much more. The last difference chronologically concerns Percy's stepdad Gabe, who, in a post-credit scene after the season finale, finds a box containing Medusa's head and accidentally turns himself to stone. In the book, Sally gets so fed up with Gabe that she does it herself and sells his petrified body to an art collector. Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 2 is based on The Sea of Monsters, the direct sequel to The Lightning Thief that sees the son of Poseidon return to camp as Kronos' machinations continue. After Grover is kidnapped and Thalia's tree is poisoned, Percy embarks on a new adventure in order to rescue his best friend and finds the fabled Golden Fleece to save Zeus's daughter. As Chiron says in Season 1, a quest is always undertaken by 3, so Percy and Annabeth need a new traveling companion in Grover's absence. They find one in Tyson, Percy's new classmate, who turns out to be a baby Cyclops, and since Poseidon is the father of all Cyclopses, that makes him Percy's half-brother. The 3 are headed straight for the Sea of Monsters, which most of us normal folk know as the Bermuda Triangle. With the notable exception of Zeus actor Lance Reddick, who died suddenly and tragically in 2023, much of the main and supporting cast from Season 1 returns with a vengeance for Season 2. You can expect monsters of myth like Polyphemus and the Grey Sisters to make appearances, as well as a new demigod written just for the show. We won't spoil how the book ends, but rest assured that you can expect plenty of twists and turns when Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 2 hits Disney Plus on December 10th.